Welcome to Oz Talk. Today, we're covering Oz hot topics. From new movie and TV adaptations to what's coming up for the Oz Club. Plus, Jane Albright is here. The president of the Oz Club will join us to chat about what's awesome in 2021. This show is brought to you by the Oz Club. Since the 1950s, the International Wizard of Oz Club has been bringing fans together. Go to ozclub.org to join. Well, really big news. It seems like the Wizard of Oz might be getting a remake or a reimagining from the Watchmen director, Nicole Kassell. This is brought to us by New Line Cinema, a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, so there could be some proprietary trademarks within it. This is really, really interesting and a long time coming, perhaps, right? Has it been inevitable, Tori? What do you think?
I know people hear the word remake and their first thoughts are of these cash grab, cheap remakes, easy targets that we've seen recently. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And let's not forget that the 1939 film actually was a remake in and of itself, and it is a gift that keeps on giving. So I think people need to all hit the brakes, calm down, and from what it sounds like, this doesn't sound like it's going to be a direct remake of the 1939 film. I don't think this is going to be a remake of the musical with all of the same music. I'm really interested to see who they cast, which direction they go. There is kind of this tendency to go either really, really light, fluffy, really geared towards kids, or really, really dark, gritty. I'm hoping for something more in the middle that's truer to the nature of the book series. And I'm kind of hopeful. I'm excited.
I'm really excited too. Garrett, what say you?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm expecting, since it is connected to Warner Brothers and they're going to want to use them, that the ruby slippers will probably replace the silver slippers. But beyond that, I'm looking forward to it. I think it could be a really, really good opportunity to bring Oz back out to the forefront. And it's kind of been a long time coming. Like you said, we haven't really had an opportunity to have a more traditional retelling of the story really since the 90s. And so I'm really excited. I think it's got a lot of potential. I think the director is a fantastic choice, especially with such strong feminist overtones to the stories in general. Having a female director is going to, I think, really help solidify that a lot more.
Absolutely. And Julius, what are your thoughts?
It's kind of a mixed bag, being, so loyal to the 1939 film. And then, of course, like Tori said, you hear remake, you're thinking, oh no, why would you remake The Wizard of Oz? Why would you touch a legendary film like that? But, it's kind of a cautious optimism about it. We still don't know who's going to be casted in it. We know who the director is, though. Obviously, she did Watchmen, which was a series that came out a few years ago, and she got acclaim for it though. So I'm excited, but it's like everybody, just pump the brakes. Let's wait and see if there even will be a remake, because some remake projects will get greenlit and then they'll be shut down within the year. So I'm excited, but let's just see how this goes. Let's see how it goes.
Absolutely. Cautiously optimistic. And Zoe, how about you? What are you thinking about this news?
Echoing what everyone else has said, I'm really hopeful that they're going to go back to the book and use that as the basis. Truthfully, maybe people are going to come and try and revoke my MGM fan card when I say this. I hope they avoid MGM like the plague. Not because it's not a good film, but because we've seen that film. We know that film and we love that film. So I want to see these breathtaking, fresh, new interpretations rather than a reheating of anything from MGM. Even though I understand the ruby slippers are so iconic, the splash of color is so wonderful, I'd rather see silver shoes, just because the minute you put red footwear on Dorothy, everyone's mind is going to snap right back to MGM. And I think we need to avoid that as much as possible in new adaptations.
It's going to be very interesting to see what direction this goes in. I have the most trust in they announcing Nicole Kassell as the director, because Watchmen is so fantastic. If anyone has not seen that on HBO or HBO Max, watch it immediately. It's one of the best TV series I've ever seen in my life. So that's really exciting, is her attachment to the project. But I also am hoping for, since, we're talking about possibly seeing the Ruby Slippers or other Warner Brothers MGM related property in this, to strategically use music the way that the recent live adaptation of Mulan did for Disney Plus, where it wasn't a musical like the animated version, but they actually took the song Reflection and used an instrumental version of it in the score at the climax of the film, and that punctuates the emotional component of the film in such a strong, brilliant way. So I think it would be magnificent if it's somewhere within it we are hearing a little bit of We're Off to See the Wizard, or, you know, If I Only Had a Brain, Over the Rainbow maybe as Dorothy's returning home, or whenever. Just a little kiss of it in the score would make all the difference for this. But I also find the news of this really interesting since it comes fresh off the heels of Universal announcing a new director attached to the film adaptation of Wicked, which is something we've all been waiting for so long. Pushed back. And John Chu, who directed Crazy Rich Asians so spectacularly, so gorgeously, is going to do this one. Garrett, what do you think about that news?
Okay, so I'm going to be the unpopular one here, I'm sure. I don't want a Wicked film. I don't think it's going to work, particularly the climax of Defying Gravity on screen. And while I'm thrilled that they've picked a director who does have musical experience with In the Heights, I feel like Wicked really needs a female director to capture the female relationships properly, especially this friendship between Glinda and Elphaba. I feel like you really need a female director for it. So if it happens, I will happily go see it, but I'm not really on board with Wicked as a film in general.
Wow. Okay. Just kidding. You're entitled to your opinion. That's fine. Here, for the other side, let's go to Tori.
Oh, so I'm kind of feel the same way as Garrett, but I am excited to see it as a film because I've had the opportunity to see it so many times as a musical. So I will be able to have both sides. I think for people who see just the movie and not the stage experience, it may come off as a little underwhelming. I am concerned about that as well. I hope that they decide to go down the road of extreme stylization rather than trying to marry the two worlds of realism and musical theater, kind of like Tom Hooper has done in recent films. I really think they need to commit to, yes, this is a fantasy film, and go all the way on that side of it. And if they do that, and if they really go with a stylized look, I think this has the opportunity to be a wow film along the lines of Chicago and things like that. If they decide to try and make it more and hammer it into a world of realism, I think this might be a failure. But I'm hopeful, again, super hopeful and super enthusiastic about the material, and I really hope it succeeds.
And, you know, I've seen the play here at our home theater in Arkansas, though, when they were doing the national tour of Wicked, and it was so awesome. But yet at the same time, you know, it's always that pressure, you know, because Wicked became so popular. Now you're going to have a film adaptation of it, though, like Tori said, whether you're going to go straight fantasy or are you going to go down that realism route, though. It's really a two-edged sword, pretty much. You can choose which one you want to go with, though, but I kind of like I said with the Wizard of Oz remake. Let's wait and see, pump the brakes. But again, you know, it's kind of wait and see.
The minute I first saw Wicked, I imagined, wow, as a film, imagine Defying Gravity, that moment that you got the chills at the end of Act 1. Imagine that possibly in 3D, on screen. I love John Chu. If you've seen the trailer, just the trailer alone for In the Heights looks like one of the most magnificent movie musicals we've possibly yet to see and have seen in a long time. So, Zoe, what are your thoughts?
You know, I think Tori really hit a lot of this stuff I'm feeling about it. I think they need to approach it very carefully. You got to approach that material to find a way that is recognizable as Wicked, that brings in the spirit of the musical while still finding something new enough that makes it work on film. When I think of film musicals, I think there's two ways we can go. We can have Chicago, where they thought outside the box and made something really amazing, or they can try and go super literal like Phantom of the Opera and destroy something that people already loved. So I'm hopeful, yet still a little worried. And I agree with Garrett. I'd rather see a female director handle this because of those female relationships, but I don't know John Chu's work well enough to really doubt him. So I'm hopeful that he'll really approach those relationships well between Glinda and Elphaba. And I mean, like Garrett said, he's got musical experience, which is a big boon over a lot of other musical film directors.
Absolutely. I believe wholeheartedly that he is the right man. I was so nervous about this because I didn't like their first choice for director. So I was glad when he dropped out. And I really think John Chu is going to do, if you look at what he did with Crazy Rich Asians, that's a female driven story, relationships, daughter, mother, mother-in-law, all that going on. And it was spectacular and gorgeous. And again, In the Heights. So I think he's the perfect choice, and I'm really, really excited for it. So hopefully that they announce casting soon and the rest of it. American McGee has announced that they're going to be doing this Oz crossover, Oz Adventure, that's going to be a TV series and a video game. And I find that really exciting. Julius, what are your thoughts?
I'm excited, because obviously they've done, from the video game perspective, they've done like the Alice, the Madness Returns games, though, which were very dark, gritty, and of course they were very like storytelling though. So I'm kind of interested to see how they do on the TV side of it though. But that combo though, because video games, because of the pandemic, has kind of become like a boom period. So we get to see that, and let's see how the TV series goes, though. So I'm kind of excited to see how they do in a TV aspect, though, how they take that video game element to a TV aspect.
Absolutely. Zoe, what are your thoughts?
I remember how big American McGee's Alice was. So I'm hopeful that this could do a very similar thing with Oz in blowing it up to an audience that normally wouldn't even approach Oz. Alice brought in these people who are really into dark video gaming who may not ever watch the Disney Alice or any other version. So I think with Oz, it could bring in a whole new audience and maybe even some cool merchandise like we got with the Alice games.
That would be really, really cool. Tori, I know that you really are a fan of darker, more gothic type things too. Are you excited about this announcement?
Oh, my little gothy heart swells with joy. I am excited, but again, a little bit concerned because sometimes the Seth MacFarlane toys that they came out with a few years ago when they were attempting to turn this into a dark, gritty video game series, they were very hypersexualized. I'm hoping they avoid that and that they really stick to the source material like the Alice games did. Those were so much fun, but they were super gory. So parents beware, this will not be the footage for your kids.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. I always get nervous when they err on the side of going too dark with Oz. To me, Oz is clean and bright and colorful and fantasy. I mean, there's some dark aspects in terms of the wickedness there. But Garrett, what do you think?
I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I really, really loved Alice. Like, that one was a defining game in my growing up. But this is the second or third time he's tried to get an Oz project off the ground. So while I think he can really do something awesome with it, I kind of have a feeling it's going to be just another one of those, here's an announcement, we're never going to hear anything more from it. So I'm hopeful, but I have a feeling we're not going to hear anything more.
It could be. We'll see. We'll have to watch this space, and certainly we'll bring you any announcements that come out about this. In just a moment, we're going to be joined by Jane Albright, president of the International Wizard of Oz Club. I'm very excited. She's a friend of all of ours, and we're going to talk to her about her amazing Oz collection. She's got one of the greatest Oz collections in the world, and all the great work that she's done for the Oz Club over the years. But I thought it'd be really fun if we each shared our own quick memories about the Oz Club. Zoe, when did you first join?
I joined the Oz Club when I was 10 years old. It was right around the centennial of the book. So it was a big time for the club. The club was really going all out to spread awareness of the club as well as Baum's original novel. So I actually found out about it through I found out about the club first through the back of a Del Rey paperback. And so I looked it up online. This was the early days of the internet. It was there. So I talked to my mom into plunking down all $15 to make me a youth member. And I remember probably my greatest memory was the first time the Baum Bugle landed in my mailbox, just to have this resource that was loaded with so many wonderful Oz bits, goodies, and all that. So it was wonderful to connect with other book fans because that's not something you saw very much in those days. Absolutely.
Garrett, how about you?
I joined first in 2015 because my parents were kind of weird about spending money on clubs. So it had to wait until I was an adult, and then an adult with expendable income. And it was a long time coming. I had heard about it first actually from a book called The World of Oz that came out to tie in with Return to Oz. And then I'd seen it sort of around since then. So it was really exciting to finally get to join. And like Zoe said, that first bugle showing up is just so exciting to get because it's there and it's pretty and it's informative and it's great.
Absolutely. And Julius, what's your favorite memory so far of the Oz Club?
Probably the first, because I had knew about the Oz Club, but yeah, it was so iffy about it though, about joining though. But then they had it was last year when they had the first two Oz event, like the Oz Online event, which practically I met all you guys. So, and that was the first time I had interaction with Jane or anybody else in that group. So I was like, wow. I was like, wow, so there were so many people. So it was like a shock and awe to me. So, but again, that was my the first live event, the first live event, online live event that they had.
I do love how the Oz Club adapted, as everything did in 2020 with the pandemic and going virtually. And it did bring the Oz community closer together. Tori, what do you think?
I actually first became aware of the Oz Club when the internet first came into our home, which was probably around 1996 or 97, and I was doing Google searches. And I sent away for a brochure, which I still have somewhere, an informational brochure about what the club did, what the benefits were. And my parents kind of did the same thing, like, I'm not paying $15 so you can talk to other Oz fans. So I didn't actually officially join until I was an adult. But it has been such a joy to interact with other Oz fans, and especially now in the social media age when we're connected through Facebook and Twitter and all kinds of other things. It's just so wonderful to be able to gather like this, even in the digital age of COVID where nobody can see each other in person, and just gush over the thing that we all love so much.
It's so true. My favorite memory, I joined when I was 10. My parents were very generous and allowed me to do that. And I went to an Oz convention in Illinois and met Meinhardt Robbie, who was the Coroner Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz. And that's just such a cherished moment. Incidentally, Jane Albright was there. And I didn't meet her at the time, or I might have, but don't remember meeting her. But I do remember her at the auction. And I remember saying to my parents, and my dad bought me something at the Wizard of Oz auction, because at the Oz live events in person, they do great auctions of collectibles. And Jane was getting a lot of stuff. And I said to my mom and dad, I was like, look at that girl over there. She was just a few years older than me. And I was like, she's getting everything, And I didn't know that one day she'd become one of my very dearest friends and the president of the Oz Club, and is an Oz historian like the rest of us. So knowledgeable, so fun. And so it is my thrill to introduce and add to the stream Jane Albright. Hey, Jane, how's it going? We'd like to get to know you a little bit more. Garrett, take it away.
What's been your biggest challenge so far as president of the Oz Club?
Stuff that y'all don't see. Things that have to happen behind the scenes to make anything happen. We had the need to email all our members last week because we had to cancel our 2021 convention because of COVID. I probably spent 8 hours just trying to get an email crafted and out to 600 names, because none of that is automatically available to the club yet. We still have a lot of we're all volunteers and we're all doing the best we can with what we have available, but we just haven't kind of gotten up to 2021 the way a lot of better funded or larger organizations have. Our website, just doesn't, it hasn't been able to communicate with people the way we'd like it to. And fortunately, those are both things that we're working on in 2021. So I'm hoping to see that improved here in the next few months.
All right. So then, because of the collection, of course, what is your holy grail? What is the one thing you've not been able to track down that you so desperately want?
That I have not found yet?
Yes.
Oh my collection is diverse. Mm-hmm. So there are different areas, like the Oz Toy Book. I would love to have the Oz Toy Book. I have one page. It was a gift from Patrick Mond. If I just look right over there, there it is. I'd love to find that, but it's something that when you do find it, it's, $15,000. So it is beyond anything that I could acquire unless I'm out turning things over at estate sales or something. So that's high on my list. But then so is the dandelion doll from Tales of the Wizard. There's just all kinds of different things based on the sort of collectible we're talking about that would be a holy grail for me.
Cool.
Hey!
Hi, Zoe.
Hey, so building on Garrett's first question about, what you do as president, I know you're always working your fingers to the bone. And I've had the honor to work with you on several projects now. So I guess my first question would be, what are you most proud of in your service to the club, whether that be president or just a member? Because I know you've been actively involved long before you were president.
Yeah. I joined the Oz Club in 1971. It was the summer I turned 13 and became progressively more involved. I think probably other than attending conventions, my first responsibility was the Oz Gazette, which was a children's newsletter clear back I think I was doing it in the early 80s. And today, our Bugle editor, Sarah Krautzer, our vice president, Ryan Bunch, me, those guys were kids and they were writing to it as children, and now they've grown up and they've taken responsible positions within the Oz Club. I flip through that and see Gili Bar Hillel or Aaron Almanza or different people who I know now as adults who joined the club as a child. So that's kind of an important thing to me, but it has to be centennial. You mentioned earlier what a big year that was for the club. We started planning in 1995 for our 2000 annual convention. I had 20 people who each took on the equivalent of an entire convention's worth of planning, just 20 of us. And one person did nothing but collectibles programming, and one person did nothing but L. Frank Baum biographical planning, and somebody else was stage and film. And we had this multi-track program with children's programming, storytelling, and costume contests. And it was really lavish. The Sunday morning of the convention, because it started Thursday, ran through Sunday morning, our event was on the front page of the New York Times. The lead to the article was my friend Dick Rutter going up in a hot air balloon dressed as the wizard with the 9 tiny piglets running up his sleeves, his wife in the chase car, as they raced across Indiana. And that was just the level of satisfaction you can't imagine after all the work we put into trying to have something extraordinary.
So that is wonderful. And my next question kind of builds off of that, and you might have already answered it in this, but when your term is over as president, what is the one thing you hope you are remembered for contributing to the club?
That kind of comes back to what I was telling Garrett too. I really want us to get membership management software in place so that our secretaries do not have this overwhelming amount of work. Every time someone joins the club, Bill Beam is entering 30 columns wide across the spreadsheet. By hand, and tracking all of this material manually. And I really want us to get a little bit more up to snuff with technology, get our website launched, which we're working now actively. Ryan's leading that project to improve our website greatly. I think those kind of foundational things will make it easier for the next generation, not just the next president, but the next generation, to build the club, expand what we can do, reach more people, offer more benefits, instead of tying us up with, all of our time is just doing manual volunteer kind of things that I'd really love to see us reaching out and doing more. Hi, Tori.
Oh, it's so lovely to see you. So my first question for you is, what has been the biggest change or the biggest changes that you have seen across the span of the history of the club since you have joined?
Undoubtedly, the internet has just completely changed everything. When I joined the club, the only way you could acquire Oz books, for example, you might have a local used bookstore, but was through the Oz Trading Post distributed by the club, by going to the club conventions and buying things at our auction. If you had a short story you wanted people to read, you submitted it to our publication, Oziana. That was the way other fans had access to your work. If you wanted to see rare films or displays, we went to the convention, and it was where you met people. Now You can do all that online. eBay has completely transformed the way people can buy. Online auctions are everywhere. Thousands of people join Facebook pages. All of you, well, Ryan, I met in person first, but all of you are people that I've met online in one format or another.
So tell me, and this can be either a funny story or a cringe story, what's your favorite memory from an Oz gathering?
Oh my. Here's a good one. The first one that came to mind was 2009. We were meeting in Wamego, Kansas, where there's a lovely Oz museum. And Hamilton Meserve, Margaret Hamilton's son, was our guest speaker. He and his wife, Helen, came and joined us. Well, we brought Kurt Raymond in to be the Wicked Witch of the West in costume for the entire weekend. And he came bursting in to the dining room where we were having our dinner. There was a stairway in the back of the room with like a landing at the top. And he came through this door cackling and screeching and just the epitome of the Wicked Witch of the West, came charging down the stairs and did this whole performance for us. Hamilton Meserve reaches over to the middle of the table, grabs the carafe of water and chases him to throw it at him. I mean, it was completely spontaneous. I never saw it coming, and it made for a really memorable moment for all of us.
Is there footage of this somewhere?
People took, photos. I'm sure there's still ones out there, but that's it.
Hello, hey Jane, holy crap!
How fun! You got recruited through to Oz. That had been quite the challenge to cancel our convention, and I wanted everybody else who had to cancel their things to be part of it too, so we could attract all kinds of people who might not even know about the club. And we did. We got you.
And you found me out in the poppy field laying sleep. So but going back to what it was a previous question that was asked about your collection. What was the first piece of Oz What was like the first piece of Oz collectible that you ever acquired?
I grew up in a house with 13 Oz books. So I never knew a time when we didn't have Oz books. My mom read them to me before I was old enough to read to myself. The first non-book thing I found was a Wizard of Oz peanut butter pail at an antique show with my mom. And the lid had been painted sort of an aqua blue, but I noticed that the Tin Man was not illustrated on the sides, just the Scarecrow, Dorothy, and Cowardly Lion. So I knew that Tin Man was on that lid and grabbed a paring knife from my mom's kitchen and chipped the paint off to find the Tin Man underneath, holding a little sign that says smooth.
Smooth. Nice. But again, kind of the piggyback off of what Tori mentioned, though, what was we all know about the wholesome one, but what was the funniest moment you've had as Oz Club president? What was one of the funnier moments?
For a funny moment in an Oz convention, I can remember pretty vividly in 2017, we were outside Chicago and had a afternoon at a sort of an interactive farm site. One of the things I'd arranged was a throw an egg at the Gnome King game with, eggs that would stick to a great big cutout of the Gnome King I had made. And I wore a costume of a big fried egg. So one of my first moments as a president, I'm dressed as a fried egg, eating, cotton candy that was a gray tornado with a little house toothpick in the top of it. And I thought that, kind of expressed the sort of formality with which I was going to approach the presidency.
Okay, now you are coming to us live from your Oz collection room, which is on the third story of your house. Will you show us some of your fantastic items?
Yeah, of course. I have about 1,300, maybe 1,500 square feet on this floor. The ceiling slants because it's up under the roof. I had a curator up here once working on an exhibit with me, and I asked him, he asked if I had an index, if I knew how many things I had. I said, I really don't. It's just been so much work. I've never tried to do that, and asked him if he could estimate based on his experience with other collectors. And he said, you probably have about 30,000 things.
Wow.
And that was one of those jaw-dropping moments where I thought, oh, that can't be possible. But then I go look at my international collection, and I'm counting, and I go through 3 shelves, and I'm up to 250, and I've got 9 more shelves, just of international material. So, and then I've got map chest drawers full of stuff, a piece of furniture back here in the corner that used to be my dining room that's full of, sheets and towels and napkins and all these Wizard of Oz housewares. And it is pretty massive. Scrapbooks, the pieces start adding up. So there's a lot up here. But I did want to bring a few things. I pulled a few things out specifically to show you. This Scarecrow doll, I call him Mel, for Mel Bernkrat, who became a friend shortly after I got him, was made around 1924 by L. Frank Baum's son, the Frank J. Baum Oz Manufacturing Company. When I got him, I had a question that I couldn't find anyone who could answer it. So I tracked down Mel Bernkrat, one of the leading toy collectors of all time. He's extraordinary. You should see his website, and asked him what I needed to know. And that was the doll. I have 2 of them. The other one's quite faded, but my other one came with this completely ordinary, threw it together at Home Depot looking stand, like, somebody's dad put this together so they could hang the Scarecrow doll on it. And Mel, in the description on his website, mentioned that he had an original stand that was packed with the doll that he had that had been packed up in 1924 until he got them. So I tracked him down, described everything about that stand, and he wrote me back with, yeah, that's exactly like mine. So I know that's the original stand that doll came with. But he's a wonderful doll. Ads for the Oz Toy Manufacturing Company say that there's a 24-inch larger stuffed Scarecrow, so we know that's where he's from. Another quick Scarecrow, the Scarecrow in a Box, Jack in the Box character. This is the paper box that it originally came in, and I always wanted that paper box. That was something. And then I've got something that I particularly want to show because Zoe's with us. Do you remember this? I saw an estate sale with this little guy. You've got Shirley Temple and the Wizard of Oz on the front, and this ridiculous pair of plastic sunglasses. Found it in an estate sale, saw it in an estate sale, and asked on Facebook if anybody was near that town. And who raised their hand? Zoe, who braved the crowd at the estate sale to get that for me. The first Russian retelling of the book by Alexander Volkov, pretty special, from 1939. The Monchichi dolls. I love these little guys. Just took me forever to find those. And probably the rarest thing that I put on the table to show y'all, this book, which just kind of looks like a normal, interesting old Wizard of Oz. As often as you see the first edition of The Wonderful Wizard, you never see this. And this is the first British edition. Let's see, get the angle right there so you can see the publisher's imprint. I had wanted actually to buy, I think it was Mother Goose in Prose, the first edition, and I had Paul Bienvenu looking for me. And he said, eventually, he came to me and said, Jane, anybody with enough money can get Mother Goose in Prose sometime. It's always out there on the market. This you can't find for love or money, and Willard Carroll is getting ready to sell one of his. Do you want it? So as far as I know, Willard's better condition copy and Paul Bienvenu's and Bob Schmitz and I are the only ones out here with the Hoddard and Stoughton first British edition of The Wizard of Oz. So it's pretty special to me.
That is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Jane, fantastic. Really cool stuff. And thank you so much for sharing those.
My pleasure.
What's coming up at the Oz Club?
Oh, all kinds of things. Sarah Krotzer, our Bomb Bugle editor, is putting spring together now. She told me one article that's absolutely in layout is Bill Campbell talking about that wonderful Minneapolis Children's Theater production of The Marvelous Land of Oz that I'm going to say was very early 80s.
That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, he was in the audience, but he's going to write about that performance and talking about it. I always look forward to the Bugle, and the variety of information that Sarah comes up with just amazes me, particularly after we have 192 issues already in print. In fact, they're behind me My one shelf behind me is full of my Bomb Bugles, and just this week, through an incredible purchase, I wound up acquiring a first copy of the very first edition, which is 4 stapled together sheets of typing paper with the Bomb Bugle typed in the middle. Very much something I never thought I'd own, but 192 copies of this are already out there, and yet we are still continuing to find new material to put in it all the time.
And so, Jane, what's happening on the website?
The website, you should know. Ryan is in charge of the Oz Club's planning committee and has been working to completely redo our website. We have ozclub.org, we have shopozclub.org, and we have ozconvention.org. And all 3 of those need to be one website where we can do our shopping, provide our information, interact with one another in online events. And we are looking to have that done, I'm going to say late spring, with a whole new look and all sorts of options that we've never had for the Oz Club before.
Absolutely. I'm really excited. And it's been a thrill getting to collaborate with you on that. Thank you so much. Zoe, tell us about the upcoming virtual event that I know you've been working with Jane on.
Yes, on March 20th, we are presenting a virtual Oz Cabaret. And that is an opportunity where we have club members, whether they be theater hopefuls or theater and music professionals. We have people of all ranges and all experiences taking part, and we are performing songs from the land of Oz going all the way back to the 1902 musical and as recent as Wicked. So it's really exciting. It's going to be a great night where you can come and just enjoy music from Oz over the decades. So I really recommend that if you love music or love theater, come check it out. We've got some great entries, and I think you're going to have a wonderful time. That, again, is on March 20th, and you can get more information and register for it at ozconvention.org.
That's right. And it's free, and you can just come and watch, or you can participate, and it's really great. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure we'll all be there and see you there. Jane Albright, president of the Oz Club, thank you so much for joining us today. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Garrett, Julius, Zoe, Tori. You guys are amazing. This was really fun. If you're watching us and you enjoyed, please like, subscribe to the Oz Club, join the Oz Club at ozclub.org, share this episode, and leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Take care, everybody.